All right.
So I believe we are recording.
Fantastic.
Sure. So the same thing.
So for those who have joined us already, are we going to go ahead and start, or do you want to?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start.
Okay, fantastic. First of all, my name is Kelly Tidmore, and I am the co-director of the Conrad series pilot, and I will be discussing with Jennifer, who's also the co-director with me, and the co-creator, the writer, all that good stuff, and as well as Ryan Atkins is the co-creator. And everybody just basically wears a lot of hats in this in the production of this show. So with us we have Randy, and if you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves, you can. People can see you, so.
Yeah, I'm Randy Bernales. I play Detective Chris Bowden. He's a series regular in the show.
Okay, fantastic.
And
Next.
My name is David Zev Weiner. I play Brandon Kives. In the pilot, I have a couple scenes, and I would be considered, I guess, like a co-star, or I would appear, throughout the story of the series. So possibly a regular. Yes, I think.
Yes, you're a secret.
Yeah,
but
I'm in the pilot for sure. Yeah.
You are. And then I would really want to start it off with Jennifer and Ryan, and basically tell the story of how you got started. A lot of people don't know that, and then we can head into the questions as we start getting participants.
Sure. So I guess I'll start that one off in a very SparkNotes version of it. But essentially, I had an actor friend of mine when I was living in Cleveland. They recommended that I do the similar work that Randy's was doing. I say was just due to COVID. You can't see other people. But it was recommended that I film demo reel scenes for actors, because a lot of the times when they go into these casting calls for agents or agencies, their material is often impacted by how it was shot or what you hear, and that will often sway the decision of the casting agent. If they can't hear you, or if the lighting is bad, then that makes the performance look bad. And so I was given the suggestion of offering to create just a standalone scene that they can then present to the agency. That way they don't have to just pull together all the stuff that's shot on their phone and just make all this other junk. And so I did that for, I think it was like 3 people. And I kind of simultaneously, I was working on a short film, my previous, entitled A School Paper. Took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears on that. And I was taking a break, and for whatever reason, I was watching movies with a strong female character. It was Salt, Gone Girl, and then a couple of other ones. And I guess when you're clearing your head when you're watching movies, you just become inspired. And I still kind of do have a hobby in writing. I just write whatever comes to mind, and I shoot it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of how you learn to become better. You shoot your mistakes.
So when you, let's move forward just a little bit.
Yeah.
And no, because you have a very interesting story and how this is manifested into what it has. Right. So you started having auditions for a project.
Yes, I wrote the script for what was supposed to be a demo reel scene. Wanted to make it look as realistic as possible, and so I held auditions for this demo reel scene. And I put emphasis on that because that's what it was intended to be. Mm-hmm. And then mm-hmm. Jennifer came along, and then David Weiner came along, and both mm-hmm. fantastic individuals. So that's the breadcrumb of how that started. So.
Okay. And then Jen, do you want to pick up from there?
Yeah, sure. So it was kind of funny because it was originally just characterized as a 2-page script, and I didn't know that going into the audition. I had just seen the sides, and I read about it, and I felt like it was a very well written. I loved the female empowerment element, and I'm a big fan of The Blacklist and Homeland, and just kind of those very female dominant characters that, you know, are trying to find out their life or trying to figure things out or not letting things get in their way, and they're on a mission. And that's kind of what I read in these 2 pages, and I was very thoroughly impressed. And when Ryan called me and said that I'm going to go ahead and cast you, I was super excited. And my first response was, is there anything else to the scene? Or is there a whole script? And he's like, oh, it's just these 2 pages. And I was like, oh. I was like, can I write more? And he was just like, do you write? And I'm like, well, I can. Pretty bold move that I made, because I had no idea what I was about to get myself into. 200 million rewrites later, here we are with Conrad, to be kind of a short story gone, you know, but it was pretty incredible, and it was great kind of collaborating with him.
Fantastic. And there's so much more to this, because you know, we've been on such a journey, and how I got involved, and the passion that you guys have had from the very beginning. And that's why I wanted to do the project. I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this, you know? And then from there it was Walt Sloan. I don't know if he's signing on, but thank you, because you're the one that has driven the opportunity. And, you know, I think too, just even these guys that are on, the casting was just phenomenal. And people, working with the people that we did, you know, as far as even the crew, everybody was just so fun to work with. It was very, it was just great to get to know everyone. So we have a question, I believe. We had someone raise their hand in the video chat. This is okay, we have 2.
I think one thing, I'll just jump in and kind of just, you know, give us a little bit of a dialogue before we jump into questions.
Sure.
I think, you know, for those who have joined us, a lot of you are probably wondering where we're at with the show. You know, some of you have had the chance to see it, some of you have not. I think it's important to note that one of the things that we really have made sure that we did is we showed our cast and crew and the producers who helped us bring this thing to life. We did a big screening for them in February, pre-COVID. And, you know, it was a very successful run, and we had a lot of positive feedback. And I think that before you open up something, before you even go the festival route, our goal and our initiative is to get this show on a network with a studio supporting it. And basically, once you go the festival route, you are putting yourself out there where you have an opportunity to get picked up a different way, but it may not include our team, right? Because they see the product, they want to buy the product, and off it goes. But our goal and our initiative is to drive not just the show forward, but our team forward and the people on it, people behind it. We're very focused on giving opportunities to females both in front of the camera and behind the camera, and you don't see that a lot in Hollywood. They're opening that up, post things with Harvey, and we don't want to bring up that name, but post the way that things have gone in Hollywood, there's definitely more of an open door and opportunities to give more females opportunities in front and behind the camera. And we're very proud of the team. I think it speaks a lot. Just to kind of give Kelly a little bit of recognition here, she did a phenomenal job as a director and a producer on this project, really making sure that she put this team first, and really making sure that she was available to assisting, especially on set, and making sure that everything went smoothly, and kind of diving into my head, so to speak, to kind of figure out how to bring what's on paper to life. And so, you know, in a studio like that, or in any type of network, it may not be as simple, right? Because you have a writer's room, and that writer's room has several writers that are working with the creatives that have to do what the showrunners want, that have to do what the producers want. And there's a lot of hands and cooks in the kitchen, which is great collaboration, great opportunity. But for something more on an independent level, it really gave us an opportunity to kind of keep it ours and kind of bring our visions to life. And that's the exciting thing that we've been able to do.
I think it's amazing. And everybody's kind of like a family now, you know?
Yeah.
So what I want to do is answer a couple of questions in between, and then go back to those places that you just touched on, because I think it's great to tell. Everybody has a story, right? And I think our story and the journey, it's been worth it. You know, everybody's always wanting to rush everything. Well, to me, when you rush, you compromise quality. Sometimes you have to back up, do what's right, do what's demanded, in order for it to be successful. And I think that that's what we've done. And I don't regret anything. You know, I'll take crap all day. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and move forward with the questions, and then we'll break in between and talk about those things. We have, all right. Okay, let's see here.
I see we have a question about
yeah, I'm trying to get in there.
I got it here. I think
you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first question came not long after the session started, was from Heather Vogt. She says, "Hi guys, what was your favorite scene to film?" So I guess we'll just do round robin, just real briefly, and then what scene and why. And just, I know we could probably write a novel on this scene, but we won't do that. So I guess I'll go first. There are a few scenes that are favorites of mine. I think my most favorite, gosh.
Tough question.
That is a very tough question, because
it's
I would
very
say
hard.
For me, it's a scene where I some scenes you can just see it in your head and you're just, oh, this is so easy. Copy date scenes so easy. It's the scene where I spent hours and hours and hours with Kelly, Jennifer, and or Mike Wright, who was my gaffer, and just trying to figure out how the heck are we going to do this. I have no clue. I am scared to death. The scenes where I was scared to death was just kind of like a Hail Mary. Turned out to be my favorite because they happened the way they were supposed to have happened. I think the foot chase in Whiting, Indiana was the most unknown of how the heck I would do that, because it's a very boring scene. You see them all the time, but to do it, oh, it's completely different. So the execution of the whole thing came together very nicely in the end. I had no idea how I wanted to get it done, but we had an outline to get that done, and it happened. And with teamwork, a lot of surprises came on set, and here we are today with a fantastic scene. So that's I think it was the foot chase and Whiting. So
Randy,
that's
what about
awesome.
you?
Oh, me again with Ryan. There's so many memorable moments.
It's not the cold one, right? Where you're out there. Like, no. Yeah. By the way, let me just bring something up about Randy real quick. I didn't find out until probably, I don't know, 6 hours in, that he was suffering from a virus. Not, of course, this is pre-COVID. It was a stomach virus. He nailed it. You know, it was like you didn't even know that you were sick. And I was like, oh my God, I felt so bad. Because here I am like, oh, let's just go again, you know, safety. You know, those are things that you don't, let's take one for the team. Well, had I known, I probably would have helped you out a little bit, you know, but you did amazing.
Well, thank you.
Through that. So go ahead, Randy.
Yeah.
Which one? You got to pick one. Come on.
Yeah, I would say probably the bridge control room scene was really, really fun. It was like nighttime, and they had, you know, the gaffer was like lighting it and making it look very like gritty and cool. And also, you know, the performances from the other actors in the scene were great too. And when you're lighting, you know, you do like one scene at night, and then maybe you have to go back and reshoot exteriors or interiors. You got to match the lighting to make it look nighttime. That was really cool too, how they did that. But also, yeah, just the performance levels from everyone on the scene. There was a lot of dynamics going on, because you get to see all the characters and their, like, you know, idiosyncrasies on screen at once, and what separates them but also makes them a team was really cool to see, you know. So that would probably be my favorite.
I think your characters really, you know, you with Katie Conrad, you know, it really makes you kind of think, okay, what is their relationship? Where is it? And I think the character building with the both of you, and the dynamic of that is just kind of really cool to see.
Yeah,
and
the banter.
To see the reaction of people. Yeah. So
fun on set too.
Yeah,
it is. It's a blast. So, David.
So, all right. First of all, my favorite scene in the final cut of the pilot was one of two scenes where I am basically talking to a couple characters, including Jen, as a medical examiner. And I mean, I don't know, I can't really give details about that scene, but
you don't want to do that.
yeah, but I'll just say this, is that like there was a lot of things to work with as far as like, you know, emotion and stuff may not even have been shown. But it was like a very high, I don't know, it's like a very high emotions were running. But that's what's in the final cut. And, you know, obviously there are scenes that don't make it in the final cut. And my favorite scene overall was the scene with Jen on a rooftop. And I'm not going to say anything more than that, but there was a lot of, you know, choreography involved, and it was very fun. That's, you know, it was very physical, and there was a lot of stuff, you know, going on between the characters. It's not important to the final cut of the pilot, obviously, but that was my favorite time filming. So I'll just say that. Yeah, there's not much I can say.
I know it's very hard, and I know that first scene you're talking about, there was a lot of movement and kind of coordination, you know. I won't say anything about the bodies, but so Jen, what about you?
Goodness gracious. Well, one of my favorites was on Wacker Drive, and I think that you know, filming in the heart of the city at night, you know, kind of when all the world is sleeping, basically, or should be sleeping, I don't know. Merchandise Mart has got its artwork on the wall, and we've just got, you know, that excitement of the team and everyone being there. We had insane crew, and the first time we shot it, we had 40 background people kind of hanging out. It's kind of cool, actually. We had the entire food court of the Merchandise Mart solely for Conrad's background, makeup, food. And then I guess, you know, Ryan's camera team was up there as well. And, you know, it was a freezing night. We were taking pictures in the lobby. And we were outside, and it was like the minute I walked through those merchandise doors to head out outside, I was completely Kate Conrad. And here I am at a crime scene. There's this kid on the ground. There's blood. It's fake, of course. But it's a thrill, and it was exciting, and it was very cool. And then even the second time we did it, we did reshoot it. It was exciting as well, and it was great. I mean, Kelly directed that scene. It was exciting because there were a lot more elements to it. We had an actual forensics officer on set, and I think one of the things that was really cool about it is that we had a technical advisor. So, you know,
he's not just forensics; he's like head of forensics and teaches forensics. He's pretty. So we wanted everything to be authentic. You know, I mean, that's my biggest thing as a director, is that I want it to look real. There's so many times I'm sure that people, you know, sit on the couch at home and they're like, man, that's not real, you know, cops or whether it's EMTs or firemen or whatever. And I really wanted it to be authentic. But really quick, let me just tell you what my favorite scene was there's a bar scene. And Ryan and you guys can attest to this. There were so many moving parts to it, to get that, to orchestrate it all, you know, with live music, and it was just incredible. But the location was incredible. Thank you, Sharon and Jay.
Or a picture from it?
Oh yeah, I felt like we were trying to choreograph a musical.
I'm not kidding you. It was a very difficult, but it was fun. We had a huge crew, a lot of cast. It was crazy, but we pulled it off. So do you have a clip or something that you wanted to show?
From that?
Not from that scene, but I do have the scene that David was referring to. I have two scenes to show from the pilot, actually.
Oh, so let's show it to the audience.
Yeah, so
okay, and then we have a couple more questions after that.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'll do the one for David first, since he mentioned that he wasn't sure how much he could reveal, but actually we'll reveal all the content within that scene. So give me just a moment here.
So if you have seen Conrad, awesome. If you haven't, this is from the newest version of Conrad. We're super thrilled about it. We filmed it in an actual funeral home. So.
Okay, one moment.
Thank you, Joe Russo.
I will be muting that because you don't want to see fire trucks or heroes.
All right.
There. I think that's everything.
Oh, sorry, detective. Forgot to sign the document.
It's kind of frozen. I don't know if it's frozen for you guys. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's just a lag. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan, it's frozen.
Well,
for
you can see David's very serious look on his face. I mean, this is a very intense
Downtown apartment
scene.
more often, so take these
He
home.
makes a good Corona.
I have you and Sean starving.
Dad, we're hardly starving.
It's like I always tell the force, always be prepared for the worst. And as I've always told you, I know I seem hard on you, but you can never be too careful.
I know, Dad.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes.
I don't know if it is for everyone else, but the screen's frozen. You
Got
can't
it.
see it. So I think it may be, yeah, there
Oh,
we
wait,
go.
it just
We're
jumped
good.
in.
We're good.
Now it's frozen again.
Hold on.
Wait.
Detective Conrad, you work in this field. You know.
Live blurb. Okay.
So maybe we'll
Use your
Okay.
imagination.
This is a
Working?
drop. We'll
Yeah,
drop this
it's
scene
frozen.
online.
There we go. It
Oh,
just,
wait,
it's because of the bandwidth or what have you. I'm not sure.
Yep. Got it. Okay.
But let's go to the next question. Joyce said, will you be doing future casting in Chicago? I think that, Jen, if you want to answer that, or I can answer.
Yeah, no, we can both kind of jump in that. We will be, absolutely 100%, we will be. It's a matter of when. So right now, we have a finished pilot. We are packaging it. And what I mean by packaging it is putting our, we have a lookbook. We're finalizing the Bible, making sure that all the graphics look good, that everything is right, and all the contracts are together. We have contracts with our executive team that are 37 pages long, and we need to make sure that everything is together. So when we pitch it, everything is ready to go. And then once we get the green light to continue filming, and we have that studio that joins us, there will be national auditions. We are not going to be in charge of the auditions. There will be casting directors who are involved. This is not staying as an independent show. The goal is to literally stream this on network and have a studio continue funding it so we can make the rest of the episodes. We have 3 seasons of a Bible, tons of characters, tons of stories. So absolutely, Joyce, everyone else, there is so much room for more exciting and beautiful talent like you guys.
And Joyce, if you want to reference, you're an amazing actress. I've worked with her before, and she's stunning. So, but thank you for that. Also, we have, what upcoming projects outside of Conrad are each of you excited about? We all have projects going on, I believe. So I don't know. And if you haven't seen The Nest, that is also something that Jennifer and Ryan did, which is crazy great if you like kind of suspense horror. So we'll have the link on that as well. If you want to hit our Conrad Facebook or website or anything like that, you can see that video or the trailer.
Walt just said that we as the panelists have to pause our camera in order to see the video of the scenes. And then I want to show those videos and get back to David and Randy. We have a ton of questions.
Sure, yeah.
So should we pause ourselves and see if that helps with David's performance? He did such a great job.
Sure, we can try that out. I can turn off mine.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop video.
Okay.
All right. Okay, guys.
One moment. Let's try that again.
There. I think that's everything.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
Forgot to sign the document.
Okay.
Hey, Ryan, I think that we're just going to skip that for now.
Yep, I agree. I'll get it figured out for next week. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah,
No
sorry
worries.
guys. But here's the good news. We will drop those scenes tonight. We'll drop the corner scene tonight. So you guys take a look at that. And then we also have a scene that Randy is in that's fantastic as well. And we'll drop that tomorrow morning so you guys get a chance to see 2 scenes from the new show.
Okay, fantastic. And we have a question from Joe, I think it's Chaplou, right? Chaplou. Chaplou. You know, it sounds romantic. Okay, so let's see. What can you tell us about the casting process? What was that like for you? It's flippin' fun. You know, I mean, we all read these scripts and you have your vision, and it's weird because we were kind of all really collaborative on that. You know, when you have something in your head and that tells you that you're with a great team, when you kind of you don't really have to bicker too much about who you want for what role.
Well,
what do you guys think?
Yeah, no. So I think that's a great question, Joe. In the beginning, first and foremost, when Ryan and I discussed the script and what our goals were, the first thing I said is I went into this being an actress, and I said I want to be SAG. My goal is to be a SAG actress. And so the first thing we did is we took the script that was finished. We contacted the SAG office and asked them what the process is for becoming a SAG project so that we can have SAG actors audition for this. And the first thing they said is that, you know, you have to submit it and be approved. And it was a huge process. I think it took us, there's 24 pages of documents, all the way from having our business, you know, incorporated into an LLC and being able to justify what our intents were, the story, the outline of the story, how long we wanted to go. I mean, it was a very, very intense process. Once we got approved, the SAG office allowed us to hold auditions there, which was so exciting. Because originally, before we had the SAG approval, we were hosting auditions on my 9th floor amenity floor. We hired a person for Starbucks gift cards to handle people in the waiting area before we could come out and get them. But we basically rented out a space and we had people come in and read scenes. And that's actually how Randy and David auditioned, and we'll let them tell you their story of their process. But we hosted auditions that way. And once SAG approved it, we started hosting video auditions in the SAG office. I contacted a bunch of agents in Chicago to ask them about their talent. So I actually worked a lot with Gray. Dawn is fantastic. Worked with her. We worked with Ambassador Talent. We worked with Shirley Hamilton. I think we've
Babes and Bows.
Babes and Bows for a lot of the children actresses. Yeah, we had a lot of the agents in Chicago sending us.
And from all over. I mean, all over. I mean, we have, we even had a few international actors. So,
and that happened in time. I think mostly in the beginning, it was kind of exciting, Kelly, because remember we would have like, I don't know if you remember, like I'd call you and I'd be like, oh my gosh, we just got another person.
You're like, okay, I know you're driving, but watch this video.
It was hysterical. I would get these beautiful self-tapes, and then I would get some self-tapes, and I would literally text Kelly and I'd be like, you have to watch this. And she like was busy, and I'd call her, like, did you watch the video? She's like, Jen, I'm still driving for 10 minutes ago.
Oh no, wait, hold on. The best one, let me tell you a story, because people love stories. Okay, we'll take the drive out. Okay, the best thing about Jen, this happens all the time. It still happens. I think it happened just a few weeks ago. Kelly, she calls me. I don't know who is on the other line, right? So she calls me like, Kelly, and I'm like, well, I'm right in the middle. But wait, I've got the guy that was from NBC on the phone right now. I just want to introduce you. Or, hey, I have Harry Lennox on the phone. Or, hey, I have Eric Roberts on the phone. Or, hey, I have John Prosky. You know, it's just like,
we casted Eric Roberts.
Can you just like tell me that there's someone that we have on the phone that's supposed to be on set for some major show, you know? And I'm not, instead of me going, hey, I'm really busy. I need, you know, I'm right in the middle of doing laundry.
Kicking my ears right now.
Yeah, right. She does it to all of us. So whenever she calls you, you may have a surprise guest on the phone. So, but it's just kind of a going thing. It's funny.
Well,
so,
I think the best thing before we jump into David and Randy real quick, what was very funny is I remember, so Kelly and I were discussing, you know, we were given feedback when we did our first pilot. We had some terrific actors, and we were given feedback that certain actors for the show would need to be known talent. And one of them came out to Michael Conrad, and Edward did a fantastic job. We love Edward, and of course there's a siren going on.
Oh, I love Edward.
Yeah, Edward is great. However, there were a couple of things they said needed to be in place if we really wanted people to take us seriously in distribution and studio acquisition. And, you know, one is having a showrunner, but also having some name talent on your project. And so I asked Kelly, you know, co-director, I said, so Kelly, who do you think we should have? And she had this whole list. And then Eric Roberts was on the top of the list. She's like, I love Eric Roberts. I grew up with, and I'm like, Roberts, you know, and she was like, he's before your time, but she was like, he's still great.
I was like, I used to have a poster of him, you know, on my wall, you know.
Sending me and Ryan these posters of like Eric, like on his bed. I'm like, and I'm like, okay. And she's like, he could play your father. So anyways, long story short, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. And I worked with one of our former producers, assistants, who helped us out, Christy, and we started, Christy Gescheidler, and we started making phone calls and emails. Next thing we know, we have Eric Roberts' manager reaching out to us saying that your themes are great. We'd love to be a part of it. And I picked up the phone and we talked on the phone, and I called I talked to her for like 30, 40 minutes. And she's like, let's do it. Let's make it happen. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, my team's going to be out of their mind. So I called Kelly. I'm like, Kelly, guess what? She's like, what? I'm like, Eric Roberts going to play Michael Conrad. She's like, oh, I'm sure. I'm like, no, I just get up.
No, and then we get on the phone with Harry, and he's like, oh my God, he's a legend. But let me can we back up really quick for a second? When we decided, look, Edward is a great actor, right?
Yeah,
he's been so supportive of Conrad. So I said, look, I love him too. So you need to go write more. So he has been placed into another character that is even more like, as far as giving him even more of a role that is diverse. So, you know, and that's the thing, like, you know, because a lot of people are like, well, what do you do with the actors that you don't use in the first one? It just means that some of the scenes that were shot may be placed further down the line because of the storyline.
And I think we need to let the actors know one thing. Scenes are
yeah, Shannon Brown, you know, I mean, we've got some amazing talent.
You know, let me just butt in. The first instance I remember hearing about that productions had to reorder scenes due to unforeseen circumstances such as COVID would be The Blacklist. I think it was 2 weeks ago we were supposed to have a 2-hour session, and Harry told us, guys, this is going to be amazing. Well, it wasn't 2 hours, it was just an hour. And that was the first instance of them having to reorder their scenes, stretch things out so there would be enough content to show. And so that's a lot of how Conrad is going to be functioning with all the other scenes that we have. So.
And just so you guys know, and when scenes are cut, and this isn't anything, Chicago Med, Chicago PD, any of the shows that you are cast in, you know, the cutting floor is really hard. They say it's like cutting your baby if you're a creator or a writer, because it literally is. It's not just one person's decision. It's not even you know, a decision that's made because, oh, we don't like the scene. It's, does this scene move the story forward? What is happening in this scene that makes us want to know more? How does this relate to the whole story? Or do we have time? Because, you know, you have 46, 42 minutes for an hour episode. You think of the commercial breaks, your acts. Certain things have got to go. They just don't work. I had scenes that I did that were cut. I mean, it happens. And it's nothing on the actor. The actor did nothing wrong. You guys should always know that. And I think that, you know, even, you know, David Weiner was talking about a scene that you were mentioning that, you know, you had on that rooftop. It was a big fight scene, and it was an awesome fight scene. And it's great for the story, but just not right now, right? Because you can't put too much into a.
Well, and that's just it. It's where, I guess, you know, coming from a crew standpoint, being a director of photography, we all want to have the best looking stuff in our projects, right? And the biggest thing I have learned about what the networks want, they want what's hot right now, and they want what makes sense. If the concept does not make sense to them, they don't care if it was shown on the iPhone, the Canon, or the Red, or the Alexa. They don't care. They say, well, my grandmother could also shoot that. Whether that's true or not, it doesn't matter, but the concept applies, or it doesn't matter how beautiful it looks. If the story does not make sense, they don't want it in their portfolio. And it's also time.
The story's not a hot theme.
There was a
but
lot
that goes back to, you know, compromising, you know, to rush. You're compromising quality, and you're compromising substance. And so when we went back, I mean, really, it was like, let's hold the reins and do what we need to do in order to progress this. So we brought on more people, really professional people, Grammy award-winning composer, and from that to a stunt team, which is the next question. Bringing in professionals to help us to get to where we need to be, and taking the team with us. I mean, if some don't know about how the process is when you're pitching. There are so many different variables and different levels in which you can actually go out to streaming, and we're wanting to take the entire team with us. That was the goal from the very beginning, and it still is. And the cast and crew, right, exactly. So moving this a little bit ahead, let's see, will any of the actors be doing their own stunts? That is from Krista.
David, why don't you start with that? Who handled
Well, I think we can definitely answer for what we did do, because for the future is a bit
we all did
unknown
stunts.
with what the networks want to do. We did have some stunt folks in some of the scenes where the safety was beyond what the cast should be doing. So we hired the professionals to do that. However, not all the scenes did that. And I know David was part of a scene where he did his own stunts. So I guess I'll let you guys take it on, but I just want to clarify, we can't really dictate how things will be handled for the future. We're working hard on that, but we can definitely answer for what we did do on our.
And before you answer, David, one thing is, when you're a union project, you have to use the stunts. You have to have a stunt choreographer on set. You have to have a stunt team. It's not even allowed to not have that. So yes, we had professionals. Now, we did have a small fight scene in which we didn't have a double for Dave. But
we had an actor too. We had Brian. We also had, crew that also did martial arts.
And
so,
Tori was amazing, the one who helped choreograph our stuff. Yeah, it was fun. It was, and it was very safe too. Yeah.
You worked with a gun, right? Like a fake prop gun.
Yeah.
But we also used some real guns. We had gun wranglers. But Jen, there's a scene that's not in the second, our reboot, where you were in the boxing ring. And I think you really, you pushed the limit there. But I think for the most part, everybody wanted to do their own thing until it got to that point where we did need some choreography.
Randy, you didn't have any stunts in the stuff you did you?
I didn't. I remember I did some stunt work for like a teaser trailer we did a while back.
Oh
yeah. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that was fun. That was kind of a last minute thing where we were filming at a restaurant, I want to say, like on the street in Chicago, like outside. And it was kind of where my character was talking with Kate Conrad. It was mostly improv, a lot of it. But there was also this, yeah, exactly. Yeah, this last minute fight scene that was pretty exciting. It involved like, a serving tray and a whole bunch of things. Yeah, but getting all the parts of that done in that night was pretty fun too. So yeah, that's about the only stunt I've done.
How do you feel about stunt scenes? I mean, are you someone who would be like, okay, I definitely would want someone else to handle that? Or is that something you'd be like, well, I want to do some of my stunts, but not all, and work with the choreographer? Or how would you want that?
I mean, Tom Cruise is kind of a huge inspiration for me in terms of how he handles stunts. I wouldn't go as far as he does on some things, but I'm very much a hands-on kind of actor. And if the stunts are, within the realm of safety, then definitely I like to get involved, because I feel like those stunts also kind of propel the character. So the more physical you get with things, it can definitely heighten a scene and the stakes of the scene as well. So
how does it affect you as an actor, like when you're performing, like having
it really, the energy drives you, obviously if you're like jumping off a building or getting hit by a car, those are, but if it's fight scenes, if I can coordinate with like like martial arts or anything like that in preparation for a role, absolutely, I would love to do that.
Have you done that before?
I have not coordinated. No, I did some fight choreography for, I think it was a Bollywood film like 2 years ago in Chicago. We had a pretty high level stunt director there, and he, got us basically from knowing nothing to doing fight scenes in a matter of hours. So
Wow.
yeah,
What about
yeah.
you, David?
Sorry, what was that?
I was saying, what about you? Like, is that something you would want to take part in, or is it more like, oh, I want my double to do that, or I don't want to have any part of it? What's your take on it?
Well, I think it just depends on the production, who's running it, what you're comfortable with. You should never really improvise like technical stuff. That stuff should always be planned out.
Yeah.
And I don't have like I've done some stuff for different projects. For a play, I did some fight choreography, and let me think. Yeah, I mean, I think if I wanted to really take it to the next level and actually become proficient in it, I would take classes, maybe get certified. I mean, that's because if you're gonna put like stunt choreography or like stunts on your resume, on your acting resume, fight choreography, knives, daggers, all that stuff, you should really like, you should be studying it and taking courses and like get certified. That's what casting directors, want to know. It's not just if you did something for a project. It doesn't really count, because you might learn something for one project, but it doesn't mean you're proficient in it. It just, you're able to make it work and look good for that, for whatever projects you did that stuff in. But doesn't necessarily mean you're like a professional. So kind of like for me, I just would, just depends on whatever project that I happen to get cast in. I'll do whatever is asked of me, as long as it's safe. And
You've already proven that to us, David.
Yeah,
dragging into
you.
a very cold room. So we've got a
Thank
few
you.
questions before we wrap up, because we only have 15 minutes here. Joe asked, were there any mistakes during filming that were intended, but that were not intended, but ended up making the final cut? I think sometimes, Ryan, you'll roll like the garage. We use some struggle from the rolling of that.
There was a lot of that stuff that happened, especially in the scenes that were just so big, and I just didn't. It's when you don't have the clearest plan, but you have that outline. So there is a scene in a garage. There is a scene in our foot chase. And even in our intro, when we filmed against a green screen at a shipyard or a shipping container yard with New York as the background, there were a couple mistakes there that I think made it in the cut. And so you just got to roll, and you can't you can't plan a mistake. That defeats the purpose of a mistake. But you just have to roll, and filmmaking is just the art, If an actor makes a mistake and punches someone, that's why they need to get it right, so that if something does happen, but it's just the art of telling the story. So I think those.
And that.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I think ad-libbing. I think that there's been times where like some things might have been
That's probably the biggest one. It would be with
improv, and that goes into the next
question.
Yeah. So what about being true to the writers and their words? What acceptable place does the improv have on a film set? We were pretty good with collaborating on certain things, because going as not if you're not in the industry and you're on here, I'm telling you, nothing really films chronologically most of the time. I mean, I've never been on a project where it's like filmed in order. So then you're going back in your head, the storyline, all that. And then sometimes, there are changes that may be needed or added. And Jen being on set and being the writer, she'll be like, well, what if we do this? And that's nice, because what that does is it gives us the creative ability to collaborate, work together quickly, and be able to add that or take something out or what have you. But sometimes there's some improv, but pretty much because of this storyline, the proof is kind of in the pudding, the details. There are a lot of details in it. So
I will say, Greg, one of the things I can say is that with the improv, a lot of the improv we did was for our fundraising campaigns and, you know, for marketing initiatives and things to really kind of grow the brand of Conrad. But when it came to being on set, you know, especially being a crime drama, there are some serious accuracies that cannot change. When it comes to, you know, some of our scenes in the conference room where we were talking about, you know, immigration law and things that are related to when a child can be emancipated from a parent or things like that, there was no ad-libbing. And, you know, especially with the way that I wanted the story to move, everything has subtext. There are scenes you watch and you look at it at the surface and you're like, okay, that's a great scene. But then when you go back and dissect it, there was so many layers underneath, and those layers wouldn't have worked if the lines weren't accurate. If an actor adds maybe a couple of like commentaries and it works, great. But generally when you're on a TV set, the writer is queen or king. And when you're on a film set, the director is king or queen. So on a film set, you know, the director has kind of the authority to kind of make changes. Now, in some circumstances, the writer has to approve those, most of them. But essentially on a TV set, you know, if the writer says, this is how I want it, that's kind of how it has to go. Kelly and I did a great job collaborating.
And there's a lot of details, like and even the crime scenes, things like that, where you know, placement. You can't take something out because it's, you know, down the road and it applies to a certain situation. I mean, it's just, there's a lot going on. So I think in this situation, it doesn't really allow a ton of improv. Sometimes it's okay, but you just have to make sure the actor remembers to say the same thing over and over again.
And the scripting will let us know. I mean, I even chopped up my own lines at times, and I wrote the thing, but you
Scripty.
know, yeah, right.
I love her.
Sarah.
Sarah's
Monica,
the best.
They're great. But you know, if
Monica.
Kelly as a director would see something that she didn't understand, she would come to me and say, "Hey, Jen, can I, can I pick your brain for a second?" And I
would say why. I wouldn't just say, I want to change this. I'm like, okay, just hear me out. And then we go through the scene and that. And it was just weird because I don't know, I was in her head and I understood the story. I loved it. There's so much content. There's probably enough for a few seasons of this. So that's good news going to pitch. But
for final questions for Randy and for David, I just kind of want to hear about your guys' casting experience.
This is my question too. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, perfect. See, great minds think alike.
And even your experience on set, you know, I mean, that's important too.
Yeah. So, Randy, tell us about your casting experience.
Sure, yeah. So when I initially auditioned for it, I submitted for a different role. Sean Garrett, which is another character on the show, I submitted an audition for him. And when I showed up, I think one of the coolest things was having the writer in the room at the same time, because they have this vision of the character, which is kind of cool because when you kind of do it, your script analysis and character prep and all that, but when you go in the room and they have their creative vision and you can kind of gravitate towards that, it just makes the performance more grounded and real and you know, intense like that. So I went in for Sean Garrett, and then I believe you had me read for Chris Bowden. You're like, oh, we have another character we want you to try out for, and I got the script for that, and I, you know, kind of looked at it for a little bit, and then that was more aligned with, I guess, my own like isms and inner neuroses and things like that, which is kind of cool.
I think I even read with you, right?
I think you might have, yeah.
I think you guys did.
That was fun.
I was there.
I love your character.
I think I have that video too, which I'm not going to show. So.
Oh man.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
Yeah, you were really good.
Thanks, you were too. It was fun. Yeah, and also, you know, I think great writing is wonderful when you're going into audition. You know, sometimes you don't have anything to work with off the page, but with this one, you could tell there was a lot of inner monologue and, you know, a lot of choices in the character and in the subtext that weren't apparent on the page. And those are always fun to, like, little gold nuggets, I call them, to find out what's driving the character, other than what they're saying, but also what their overall like intentions are throughout the scene. So that was fun. I got a call back, and then they gave me an offer, and I accepted, and it's been a fun ride ever since. So, and then, yeah, I mean, also on set too, again, if I'm in scenes with Jen, she's the writer. So having that like extra access to creativity, just, it really drives the scene, and you're like on the same page in every scene. So that was exciting.
Nice.
She's really good at explaining why she wants what she wants too. So you get a little bit of backstory, and then you also get a little bit of a path as to where it's going, you know.
Yes.
So it really does help you to be in the moment. You're
Yeah,
fun to
I
work
remember
with,
that.
by the way. All of you guys are.
Thank you.
I asked her.
Oh, and I miss
You
you.
too.
Tell
I
her.
asked her about a scene, and she was like going like, 7 or 8 episodes down the road, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like, just to have
I
that.
was like, don't tell anybody what happened.
No, but I was like, whoa, I was blown away. So just the detail and depth is phenomenal,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
What about you, Mr. David?
Yeah. So
Ryan
starting with.
Oh,
Yeah, starting with auditioning real quick. I mean, aside from when I helped with some auditions and read with Randy, like you mentioned, I first read for that the short script for Ryan. I think it was called like the other
It was
woman.
Jen's
The
hated
other woman.
Veronica. It was called Veronica.
Oh yeah.
And then
So
you did a self-tape is what you ended up doing.
yeah, so I just had one of my acting teachers and mentors at the time at Green Shirt Studio, Summer Austin. She just helped me with the self-tape at the studio, and I just sent that in via link to you guys, or Ryan, and so that's when I got on board. And from then it was just like a lot of like filming like different scenes, different reiterations of scenes, or things that evolved that we had to change, reshoot, stuff like that, until finally the final stuff that we actually used. And every time, kind of like what Randy was saying, every time I've been on set, aside for obviously it can always be like stressful, but it was also like a lot of fun, like every time with the different locations, different people, and I was also asking you, Jennifer, like a lot of questions about my backstory, so I could really like dig in there and be like, okay, like what is like happening to me? What am I trying to do like to you? All that stuff that I need, that even though it's not coming up in the pilot or in that scene, even if it's not coming up in that scene, it's still stuff that I need, that as an actor I needed to know. So I was always like asking you about that, and yeah, like you're telling me stuff about my character down the line, kind of like what Randy was saying, and yeah, I don't know, I had a good time.
Encapsulate your person, like
And-
the character.
Yeah, I had a great time. Like, just working with everyone at different times. It was fun. It was wild. Yeah.
I think David, that scene that you were talking about when you first, you were discussing your favorite scene, your character, when I was watching that scene play out, and I'm just like, he just looks so uneasy, and you really pulled it off as far as your comfort level, and basically doing the job that you needed to do. And then it got a little bit sketchy after that. But anyway, so the intensity was there. Jen, it was amazing that day too. I didn't even want to touch her because she was in the moment, and it was so emotional. I was like, okay, I have her there. I want to keep her there. So I didn't want to pull you back, but it was just,
I remember you were like, don't talk to her. She's in her space.
Yeah, don't talk to her, and sometimes I would just, and my thing with directing is just letting it roll, because sometimes if you just let someone keep doing it, we just get better, and then it's crazy great, you know. So I just go, just keep up with the scene. Let's keep going. Heck, we can get the whole episode out right now, you know, just because you guys really nailed it. But I couldn't work with the better actors than I've worked with on this project.
Well, lastly,
oh, wow, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Lastly, before in closing, just what advice would you guys give Randy and David, like real quick before we kind of wrap up? What advice would you give to someone who wants to be like a season regular or, you know, on a show? You know, what would you recommend to them? Like, how can they improve their craft and get to that place?
Oh gosh, I would say, you know, research casting directors who are casting your favorite shows. That's kind of a big thing. And also classes for, you know, the kinds of roles you want to go in for. You know, a lot of actors, they start out with, you know, co-star under 5 roles where you're like maybe the cop, the nurse, you know, occupational types. And then you progress to guest star, recur, series reg. Sometimes it's a ladder system, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you hit a series regular right out of the gate. But either way, having that ability to take a class where you continuously work on your craft and make, you know, sculpted choices in the script and things like that, those things are really going to help you quite a bit. But also, you know, marketability as well, like knowing your type, your brand, getting headshots that reflect that in an accurate way is huge. You know, if people see you as like the nerdy guy or whatever, but you have these headshots where you're like, you know, shirtless and you got a sculpted body by working out, they kind of conflict. And then when casting sees that, they don't know where to put you, and it's kind of confusing. So having very specific materials out of the gate, it's going to help you in the long run, especially when you're going in for these, you know, co-star, guest star roles.
By the way, Randy, you've done a great job doing the character spread that you've done lately.
Oh yeah.
You know, where you're sitting at the table, that's amazing. And then Jen just came out with her new website, which is great as well. And then David, you know, I can't wait to work with you guys again. But what I want to do before we wrap it up, because we are at 8:59 or 7:59 your time, is to encourage people to please go on, like our Facebook page, go to Twitter, Instagram, hit our website, conradseries.com.
We're at 9,800 followers on
yeah.
Facebook. That
we
is
need
so
to get
exciting.
to 10,000. So just share, like,
to get the brand out there, but 10K would be awesome.
Share,
10K.
like, and you know what? Even if you're not an actor, we seek people out for different roles, and we all do have projects going on. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us and say what interest, and we could put you on a list. I mean, depending on what it is, you never know. So
Lakefront Pictures is our production company. We have other things we're working on in the interim. Ryan's got a script for a cabin horror film. I'm working on a comedy this summer with Helen Caldwell called Summer Associate. I'm producing, I'm casting, and working with her on that. And so
I have a show called Lucky. It's a twisted crime drama series written by Jason Booker, who is a homicide detective, by the way.
It's some of the best.
And yeah, so everybody has some really cool stuff going on, and we're all going to be involved in each other's here and there things. But Conrad, we want to take this all the way, and we're going to be doing this every week.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and we're gonna have different guests on, and you never know,
So,
we
guys,
might have a surprise.
Yeah. So be looking out for an invite for the next recurring meetings. This one was on Thursday because yesterday was Passover for those who follow that. But the subsequent dates will be on Wednesdays, and then we'll just have different guests on, and those are a surprise right now. So.
All right.
Fantastic, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
See you next week. We'll
Thank
have
you
a
very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you.
Love you.